Hello, it's Monday the 30th of September. It's the last trading day of September. So it's a good trading day to look at monthly candles, have a look at what you're holding and see what you like and what you don't and in your bags. Good news is the last day of September means it's October, which seasonally is a pretty bullish month, not just for Bitcoin, but for stock indexes. But particularly crypto, it's a pretty good reversal month. The problem is I feel like everybody's a little bit too bullish now and anticipating it, which means I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a shakeout before that happens. I got this picture up because on Wednesday we have a solar eclipse in the same place that we had a lunar eclipse in April, I think. And eclipses do tend to have a little bit of an effect on crypto, particularly Bitcoin. If you remember November 2022, that was the day that eclipse, on the day of the FTX collapse, was also an eclipse. But it was also a pretty important bottom for the market. We kind of didn't go back there. And so we could see, all solar eclipses are new moons, and they are quite often turning points, new beginnings. So we could see a bit of a turn in the market. I personally think markets have three directions. They don't have up and down. They also have sideways. And if we look at what we've done really since the eclipse in April, we've gone sideways. And so I would really like to see a breakout in Bitcoin from this sideways range. So the eclipse is on Wednesday, I think, and we'll see where we go from there. Sometimes it takes a few days for the market to settle down and pick a trend for the month. In fact, I've done quite a lot of research. If you go back in the big Bitcoin and the big charts, very often the 5th or the 6th or the 7th of the month is the high or the low or the turning point for the month, which would put us at the end of the week, and we need to get through this eclipse and non-farm payroll for this to turn around. Also, I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen the market so uncertain about an election decision and so much going on in the world. So there's quite a lot of uncertainty stuff that could wobble the market. And yeah, there's a thing called an October surprise. Let's hope we don't have one of those and we go back to the Uptober that everybody's expecting, even if we if it doesn't happen straight away or we have a little bit of shakeout first. I think be ready and just don't be surprised. It feels like everybody's a little bit too bullish at the moment. Maybe I'm wrong. Hope I'm wrong. Here we are in Bitcoin. If we take a look again, let's take all these off, scribbles. If we take a look at the monthly chart and the monthly candlestick, this was a very nice bullish candle. Really nothing to argue about. This still looks like a very nice bull flag, doesn't it? And I'm going to move this drawing. And I still think that this is a very nice wave 4. So from the low that we made in November 2022, which of course was the FTX eclipse, we've had a wave 1, a wave 2, a very nice big wave 3, and here's the wave 4, and we're looking to break out of this sideways range and continue higher. At the moment, no, we are a little bit sideways. We're a little bit sideways at the swing high from August, and we're not quite at the highs yet. And it's possible that we've got it wrong, and this is just a 3 wave, and we could see a bigger pullback from here. But for now, sideways in an uptrend, you are usually looking for it to break higher with the trend. If we look what we've done since the 5th of September low here, it is possible that we've done 5 waves up. I don't think we have, but normally the previous swing low is if you get kind of bigger pullback where you expect it to come back to the bottom of this wave 4, and this is also where the weekly 20 moving average is. And we can see when Bitcoin trends, which it does very nicely, this daily 20 moving average is very good support and trend resistance. And you can see here when we bounced off the low on the 5th of August, this resistance was the 20 moving average. When we got above it, it was support. We held it and kept going higher. And so for me, if we hold these lows and we hold this 20 moving average, I think we look pretty good to keep going higher, and if not, then we're going to see obviously a little bit of a bigger pullback in Bitcoin. So still sideways in an uptrend, and still really a bullish corrective pattern. It's just how much are we going to pull back before we can turn higher again, and kind of not really all over until we do with this correction. Still very choppy, overlapping corrective patterns until then. Let's take a look at Solana, because Solana is very similar. I'm looking at Solana because the fib patterns help us a bit better with this one. You know, whereas Bitcoin, which is sideways at the previous highs and lows are always really kind of tricky levels. Here in Solana, we've got fib patterns that we can lean on. So if we measure from the high that we made in 2021 to the low that we made in 2022, you can see that we have made a very nice 5-wave rally, and we reversed at a 786 fib retrace level here at 206. The thing with these fib patterns, if you reverse at a 786 and you close underneath the 61.8, your usual target is the 38.2. This is your first target in 3 waves. And so if we do that here in Solana, that still points to, these are 38.2 down here. Not here yet. Let me draw it in so I can take these off. And you would normally expect this to be an equal measured move. If I go down to the weekly, here by that I mean this is the first swing, here's our 3 waves in the middle, and we would normally look for this to be equal. So if we measure from this low to high, project it from this, so we've gone A, B, C, and we project it from this high, you can see this equal measured move lines up with our target here at 104, and we're not quite there yet. So I'm a little bit nervous that we may still see in Solana one more push lower and push down to 104. And you know, if we get down there, I really like this, and I really like this pattern. I'm going to be a buyer here for sure. Now we obviously will keep going higher if we ride these moving averages, but they're sideways, and it's just not clear yet that we might not see a bigger pullback before we turn higher again. At the moment, this week, clearly, we've been very nicely in sideways consolidation, holding above the daily 200 moving average here on this daily chart, and nothing to worry about. And I could be wrong. Sometimes these don't make their targets. But if we do get a little bit of a shakeout, I don't think there's anything wrong, you know, because we're going to drop 30% from where we are now if we come down to 104. So I wouldn't ride it all the way down. I'm certainly going to be waiting if we come down here in Solana. So until then, you know, really we're bunched up moving averages and we're sideways. One that I do think has a little bit more hope is Ethereum, which has really been underperforming all of these other coins. And the reason that I'm a little bit more hopeful in Ethereum is not only, this is a monthly chart, it's not a particularly bullish month we had in terms of trading here, and we're stuck between these monthly moving averages. You can see which we've done before. When we broke out, we had a really nice move. So we are a little bit sideways and we could end up staying here a bit, but I like this level because the monthly moving average. But if we do the same as Solana, we measure from this high to low, we reversed at the 786 and we met our first target here of the 38.2. So could we go a little bit lower? Yeah, we could. All we've done is met our first target. So this at 2,400 was in a pretty important support level. And what I like is how we're holding it. So how will we know if we're going up again? Well, if we measure from this low to high, we're already holding above this 236 fib, and we look a little bit good to be going higher. But I have to say this, you know, potentially, you know, we're just stuck in a sideways range and not quite out of it. This 38, put my fibs on the wrong way around. If we measure from this high to low, don't really want to go that way, we want to go this way. We're above the 236 fib, but we paused at this 38.2. This may be it. We may squeak a little bit higher. We may do some kind of equal measured move. If I look at what we've done since the 6th of September low in the month of September, I would really like to be this to be a 1, 2, 3 and a little sideways wave 4 and another push higher. Fifth wave, 5 waves off the low would make me a little bit more excited that we could come back up here to the middle, get back above this daily 200 moving average in the top of the channel and be on our way up again. So I'm going to say that on this back test, these daily moving averages, this previous swing low and this 2,500, I would like to see this hold as support for ETH and bump higher from here. And I think there's a bit more potential for it because it's underperformed, so that would, it's kind of a little bit more tempting, I suppose. Institutional investors can trade ETH now, not, you know, spot ETFs and futures, whereas you can't yet with Solana. And yeah, this kind of looks potentially, if this 2,500 can hold, I think it looks a little bit better set for another leg higher. Ethereum against Bitcoin as well has had a real beatdown and starts to look to be making some ground back up again, which is pretty good for altcoins as well. So that's how I'm seeing Bitcoin, Solana and ETH. There are some smaller coins and some quite interesting coins and meme coins that I've been looking at. But I just want to show you an example of a monthly candle that perhaps is not quite so exciting. So here's Ondo Finance. Let's take everything off, start again, and we'll talk about why Ondo perhaps is not quite so exciting. First of all, when I look at this on a monthly, you know, when you have a big thrust, a very long green candle like this, 50% back of that candle on an open close, so you don't count the tails, very often is support and a good place to look to get in. So for example, on this way up, 50% back was a really good place to put an order to buy, and we did continue higher. 50% back of this second big green thrust candle on the monthly here was also pretty good support and resistance in Ondo to keep going higher. The problem is here that here's our last down candle, and here we are unable to close back more than 50% up on this one. So if I was to have a bag of Ondo, or if I had tentatively bought some here, I'd be looking at this and thinking, it's not really put in this kind of bullish reversal that I want to see. I would like to see some kind of follow through. And if we say in the simplest way that a downtrend, you know, is lower highs and lower lows, you know, to turn it around, you need to take out this high, make a higher low, and that now you're going up again. And if we look at this in terms of simplest trend forms here in Ondo, we haven't done that. We haven't taken these highs out. So I would want to see, you know, kind of a higher low and a turn back higher to retest this level. So for me, this would be a monthly chart that I might not be so happy with, and I might look to rotate some Ondo into something else that maybe could perform a little bit better. So that's an example of one perhaps that I wouldn't be so happy with. In terms of OG coins, there are some charts that I think are looking really interesting. This is Chainlink. This is a very OG coin, isn't it? When I look at the monthly chart of Link, and I go from all-time lows, I'm looking at Coinbase chart, we go from the all-time lows in 2017 to the high that we made here in 2021. I like how these fib levels were respected on the way down, and we bounced from an 886 fib retrace level. Well, if a 786 is the square root of 61.8, 886 is the square root of a 786. And when you reverse at an 886 and you get back above this 786, which we did, and this made a beautiful year-long bottoming pattern and a massive launch out of it. What I really like about this rally in Chainlink is from the low that we made in June 2023, we had a lovely 5-wave rally, and since then we've made a textbook 3-wave back. So I'm looking for a second leg higher, and remember our first target is up here at this 50%. So if you draw your fibs from low to high, if you reverse at an 886, your target is back test. First target is back to the 50%, and usually in 3 waves, and it works out really nicely if they're kind of equal. So if we were to do that, if we reverse engineer it here, look from this low to high, you can see if we do 2 equal measured moves here, we get very nicely back to this 26 level, and here we are at 12. So this is actually quite a nice trade for an old coin like here. What we need to see though is a bullish reversal, and not quite a bullish reversal, and still under these monthly moving averages. So if we go down to the weekly, you can see this is a very nice 3-wave correction we've moved, and we haven't managed to reverse the trend yet here, even on a weekly in chain link. And we've got this really tough support and resistance level all the way through. The lows, 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 lows. You can see this is a head and shoulders pattern. I don't think this was a head and shoulders pattern, and when head and shoulders patterns fail, it's usually because it's a 3-wave equal measured move pattern or 3-wave corrective pattern. And if we measure, therefore, from the high to low here in link, that's kind of exactly what we've made here, isn't it? A 3-wave equal measured move. So when I look at this, kind of the first confirmation I want to see is higher highs and higher lows, and back above this neckline, which is where we may see some selling, unfortunately, initially. And if we don't get back above this neckline, we're not going up again. But if we do in Uptober and we can trade and hold above 13, I think there's a really good shot, and my target would, and we break out of this nice little channel in chain link, I think it should go to 26. So that's what I'm looking for in some of these OG coins. I know I look at a lot of new stuff as well, so let's take a look at some of those. So one of my favorite ones has been Tau, Bitsensor. And when I look at the fib levels in this from the spike high, I gotta say, they're not working. I like to see a reaction at the 236 fib. It's like my touchstone, and then I kind of know it's working, and then sometimes I'll let it get away with a 38.2, and I suppose we could argue that that's what it's doing here, and we have broken out of this 7-day sideways accumulation at 570 resistance, at 579, and if these fib levels are working, then we should see 707 next if we can hold above this 579 level. But when I'm not sure of the fib retrace levels, let's take that off, I tend to use measured moves, right? So, you know, I like equal measured moves for a corrective look, but when we're in a trend, very often wave 3 is 1.618 or 2.618 of wave 1, right? So here I've measured from this low to high, wave 1, I've projected it from here. We went sideways at the 1.618 level, which means really a little bit higher. The 2.618 would be next, as long as we don't break these lows and we keep going higher. So we'd then be in a 5th wave here, wouldn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 745. So I'm looking for this on this breakout to keep going. No close back underneath 544 and 745 next. But this is crypto. So let's take all my scribbles off. And if we look at this on the daily, this is a little bit of a swing failure, not going to quite close at a new high. Why is that a problem? Because when we can't close at new high, sometimes it's just a false break, and we can get a little bit of a bigger 3-wave pattern before you keep going higher. So we really do not just need to close above those fib projection levels, but we need to hold above this 600 as well. And if we do 700 next in Bitsensor, and this lovely uptrend should continue. And then of course we'll have got 5 waves up in our wave 3. If we get up here, remember that if we get a bigger pullback, when we get here, the bigger pullback is likely to be back to this wave 4 before we do our next. And this here would be at least 3 waves, sometimes 5 waves. So looking really good for Bitsensor based on this lovely monthly candle. No reason to be saying bye-bye to this one, but don't want to see too big of a pullback yeah, so that's actually probably one of my favorite bags at the moment. There are some other ones that I've got that I really like. Let's take a look at yeah, I talk about this little tiddler a lot, Kai. This is quite a good example of that 50% rule, which comes in a lot. So let's put regular candles on. So on the way down here, each one of these bounces, and if we get into the daily, you can see it better. This first bounce, we went 50% up, 50% back, and then we saw another rally. This next swing, our high was 50% of this drop, and we continued lower. From this high to low here, we bounced to exactly the 50% mark, and then we continued lower. So like each time we kept doing this 50% retrace thing. Well, I'm hoping that we are bottoming here in Kai, and if we are going to start going up again, and Kai likes those 50% retraces, and that's really what we should see from the lows. And if we measure from this low to high, here we are. It's a little bit messy, but we are at this 50% mark, and you can see for the last 5 days we've been kind of holding it around 0.4. Are we going to break down and go a little bit lower? Look, we had a 50% higher. Kind of need to hold these lows. Another way to look at this one, and let's go down to the 4-hour and take this off, is potentially, you know, if we measure the swings and corrections, we're looking for either the 61.8 or the equal measured move. Well, here we are sideways at the 61.8. Here we are sideways at this most recent swing low before we made a high. So there's a whole bunch of potential reasons why this could be support. We just need to see the bullish price action. And if we don't, where am I going to buy some more of this one for the next swing? I bought this 50% swing, and when we failed at the 50%, I got quite a lot out. I think I'm going to be lining up at 0.27 from this low. So yeah, let's see if it can do it. Not bullish price action at the moment. And if in terms of monthly candlesticks, I've got a small bag of this still. Let's take a look at where we are. Monthly candlesticks here say bullish reversal. It's a bullish engulfing. You know, this monthly candle is engulfing the previous month's little inside bar. Now, the long tail on the upside is usually a little bit of a warning that we could pull back before we go higher, but clearly there are buyers here, and clearly this is having a go. And what I like about this coin is look how long this has been trading, and yet the developers in this one seem to be working really hard doing new things. It has a pretty good community, so I kind of like this one for that reason. So those are the ones I'm looking at. I've got some requests to look at. We'll take a look at them. Big picture, but let's take a look at Ripple. Everybody seems to, well, not everybody, quite a lot of people still have a big bag of this and are holding for that next bigger swing. And something pretty exciting has happened, which hasn't happened all year on the weekly. If we look, this is for the first time all summer basically, we tried to get back above this weekly 200 moving average, and we tried to kind of break out from this nasty consolidation, and that was one of the things we were looking at. And finally we kind of got our breakout. I'm a little bit, you know, I would like to see this hold as support now to confirm it and keep going higher, because we've done it before at this weekly moving average and held above it and then dropped back again. And so I think that we are not going to be out of the woods, and we're going to look a little bit double toppy if we don't then hold this weekly 200 moving average as support. And that means on a weekly close, which is Sunday night. So that's where we're looking to hold, and if we're going to keep going higher, otherwise there is a little bit of a risk that this is one and then 3-wave correction, and we're going to see another bigger swing lower to start before we can talk about Uptober and on our way up again. So Key support is that moving average at the 200 moving average on the weekly, which is at 0.61, and on every time frame you can see if this, it's a pretty good support and resistance level in terms of previous highs and lows if we're going to keep trending, isn't it? If we do the bigger pullback though, where are we likely to come back to? Well, if we look from this low on the 6th of September, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this previous swing low, and back towards these daily moving averages, and maybe 0.57 would be where it comes back to. I wouldn't like to see it underneath there. So that's what I'm looking for Ripple. A word about a couple more that I have been looking at. Let's talk about this one is ITO. These are little, okay, here's the thing with these little coins. They're, especially ones that haven't been listed yet. It's like the old days in 2017, you know, when we all used to share out the ICOs and try and look for the good ones to invest in. Now, you know, there's no ICOs to read anymore. And it's really a matter of looking at what's got lots of volume, what's got lots of momentum, what is everybody talking about. And it's a matter of riding it. And sometimes, you know, they're just boosting it to get extra liquidity. So you kind of got to read the trend. But for me, you know, when I look at a really nice chart like this, are we slowing down? And are we likely to have a little bit of a pullback? Yeah, but clearly from this low, I'm looking for a fifth wave. And if I measure the relationship between these look really good. But one thing I would say, if we look at this on the 4-hour, what I like about ETO is you can see each time the previous highs become support. So this initial high pull back, that was support. Here, this swing high that we made on this mid-September is now support. And I would say that it's pretty good. We're still going higher as long as we drop back underneath 1267. There is a little bit of a risk that this is 1, 2, and we're going to see a 3 and another pullback towards this range before we go higher. But yeah, in terms of monthly candles, this looks very good, and one to continue higher on pullbacks. So one thing about crypto is those fifth waves tend to be quite often the longest and the strongest of them. So if we zoom all the way out on this one where I'm looking, then from the highs here, mid-September, we have not got back to the 236 fib, which is normally always my first target. So here we are at 1759, and the first target for me in this one is this 236 fib, which comes in at 3098, which would be great. Now, obviously it's going to shoot through that if it gets a listing somewhere. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, you know, but I think what I like about these is, you know, they move so much intraday. You kind of don't need any leverage, which means you can't get wiped out. You just hold your bag until it flies, you know, like the old days. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting one, I think, as well. So if there's anything you'd like me to take a look at, let me know. I will be starting to make some technical analysis videos again soon.